All right, the next step in the process of balancing is, now that we've got the static balance out of the way, when we had it in our static balancer where the heavy side goes down, the light side goes up, when we correct for that. The next step is it's a little more complicated. So we've taken the static balance out, but the dynamic balance remains. And the dynamic balance you can't do with a static balancer. It only comes to play when it's actually spinning. So what you got is, say, it's the armature is, say, heavy on this upper corner and heavy down here in this corner. And so when it's spinning, it wants to do this. So you can't fix that on a static balancer. You've got to get it spinning so you can even sense that. So what I kind of invented was, I guess I call it a wobble plate, but you can call it several things, I suppose. But let me get a tweezer so it's easier to see. Maybe get a little light on it too. Yeah, that's better. The light will stay out of the way. Okay, so this is a little thing I made up. So I took two AFX Magnasonic idler gears and glued them together back to back, so the grooves on the top, grooves on the bottom. And I took a piece of my tungsten wire and hope you can see this. You glued it here. There's a piece it's about 1/8 inch long, 1/10 of an inch, 1/8 inch long, something like that. And then there's an equal piece. If you flip this thing over down here, try to keep this thing on the screen. So there's one there, and on the other side there's one up there. So basically this has got a dynamic unbalance in it. So it's heavy here and heavy down here, so it's going to want to do this. So I just kind of guessed at it when I made this up, but it turns out this is actually a pretty good way to go. It's about the right amount of unbalance to really get this thing down, and to be able to counteract, say, an average arm, and find a good spot where it's nice and smooth, and then you can work from there. Then you know where the dynamic is. You know where you got to add or remove weight. Another thing you're going to need, kind of goes without saying, you're going to need a mule chassis. So I've outfitted this old beat up T-Jet chassis. It's missing one of these teeth up here in the front, but it works fine for this task. Some old blue and white dash magnets in there. You need some pretty strong magnets in it, motor brushes, and a top plate that goes with it, and that's the mule chassis. Oh, and a clip, of course. And you'll also need a toothpick and a few other little tools, as you'll see as we'll go along here. But that's the main gist of it. So we'll get going on the next video, but that's just an introduction to the pieces. I want to make a quick note of a couple of things here on the dynamic balancing. First off, I want to point out that unless you're doing an arm for something with really strong magnets in it, like a freight car with the blue and white dash magnets, or the Killer Bee magnets, or maybe the Black Dragon magnets, something like that, with real strong magnets. If you're not using the strong magnets, you probably don't need the dynamic balance. It doesn't really show up much when you're running weak magnets. It only really shows up when you're running the strong magnets. So just keep that in mind. And then, so if you're just building a stock car or something like that, and you just want an arm in it and just have regular T-Jet magnets in it, then don't worry about that dynamic balance that you're going to be seeing here. It's pretty extensive. It's a lot of work, and it's not going to net you much. And then I want once again to show the gear that I made up a little bit closer. Maybe this shows up a little bit better. Here's the little weight that's on the top side. And on the other side, I'm going to flip it this way. There's the weight. And so they're opposite each other, 180 degrees apart. Since that first video was made, I came up with another approach, and I'm actually using this one more. And this is just an old wheel I turned down. It's made out of Delrin, and I drilled some holes and put some double-aught 90 brass screws into it. And this sets up a dynamic balance too, and you can kind of see this from the end, I think. Yeah, you can see the screw heads there. Come on, focus you. Let's see, focusing. Hopefully it focuses. Okay. Yeah, so you can see the screw head here and screw head here. So it's got a dynamic balance this way as well. This one seems to work a little bit better than my gear one, but either way it works. This one takes a little bit more work to set up, obviously. But I'm already I got an idea in my head that I can make a couple of different ones of these. Maybe make one that's a little thinner. Maybe make one that's a little thicker. And then the farther apart these screw heads are, the more dynamic unbalance I got. So I can work it that way. So that's still kind of in the thinking stages, but I just wanted to point that out. Now in the video you're going to see I'm going to be using the gear, but the exact concept is valid either way. If you're using this part or if you're using this part. So I just wanted to point that out.